Where's the hole in that team? That's a tough question. You know, those are my potential future teammates.
That's true.
That you're talking about.
That's true.
But I just think...
So you're not happy with the ones you have? Or?
What do you say? What do you say?
What does that mean, bro? I heard that. I was like...
It's a dog-eat-dog league, you know?
Yeah, bro. All for yourself, baby. 15 years.
Welcome everybody to this week's episodes of Pros. We've got Isles, Fudge, ScaryJerry. First of all, ScaryJerry, you've been waiting a long time now because we've been waiting on these guys' games to finish up.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it was like 5 hours of waiting. You know, I thought after game 2 they kind of had it in the bag. You know, I was getting my hopes up, but it was a fun series to watch.
Fudge, what was happening there?
I mean, game 1 I thought was pretty clean. It was a pretty smooth win. Pretty good draft. I liked it. Game 2, I feel like our draft was a pretty hard early game. And then we somehow got out of the early game and were in a very winning position and then just like messed up a lot of fights. I don't think didn't play fights very well. And then eventually we had low damage. We had very, very low damage once it got to like the later stages.
Yeah.
Game 3, oh Jesus, we hit Otacon. We hit Otacon in game 3, all right. And we hit Otacon and lost the game instantly as soon as we hit Otacon. I don't know. I mean, it was winnable.
Kind of goated there. You just like last dying breath smited that thing.
No, I mean we could just take Dragon.
Yeah, it's true.
And we did the rookie mistake of hitting the objective when it's gonna tear all our armor and MR away.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You were on the other side of that. You ended up getting a win. 2 of the last games, you guys had like major deficit, came back, clawing your way through it. How is it feeling? How does it feel on the other side of that?
I have to say, like, the second game was pretty shameful, I have to say. I think it's true what Fudge said, that the early game should be really hard. The first, I don't know, maybe 16, 17 minutes should be very difficult.
Yeah.
Especially after we got grubs. There's always a situation where Alice can dive one side from 100 to 0, only 2 people needed. Yeah. And then Malka cannot show. So it's just pressure everywhere, dives can happen everywhere, vision advantage. But somehow, I played every dive so bad, and I don't know. I don't know how it got so bad, to be honest, but.
Because the first one, I mean, these are long games anyway, so I would be surprised if you actually remember it. First one was tough because like I think maybe you were holding like a headbutt pulp because you had flash. Yeah. And then you just like ended up escaping it.
I queued too late.
Yeah, you queued late, yeah.
The second one, I don't know, man. They just came out of nowhere to defend the dive.
I don't know, that one's still like, I lived there, but it was like a big temper loss at least. So time wasted where we could have been doing something useful, just bad. And then one team fight at Drake, and then the game was like pretty much unwinnable. Yeah. Somehow it became winnable.
Oh, it was unwinnable, right? I like pressed Q and fat fingered my Zonias twice.
Yeah.
I remember I was like so tilted after I did that.
Yeah.
And then
my top,
How can you guys keep, because like, first of all, let's put this out there, fun stat, both you guys, Shopify and Dig, have like the 3 longest games so far in the split. First time you guys met in position phase, and the last 2 games you guys had. So just like going through that marathon, what is it like? Because obviously the stress, you guys are getting tired as hell at some point, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
And so like probably tilted from previous decisions. So like I'll ask you, Fudge, in particular, because like being in a winning position and then losing 2 times like that, you already sounded frustrated.
Just keep rubbing it in, man.
Just like talk me through it.
I mean, in game, it doesn't feel like super bad when you're playing long games. Like it just feels like you're just locked in, you know? You don't really care too much about it. Obviously, like after the game, it's tiring, especially if you lose. It's more tilting than if you just get stomped and you just like move on, I feel like, for me at least. Yeah. Because like, you make like really bad mistakes, really bad mechanical errors, and then lose a game.
Yeah, oftentimes it's easier to see what you did wrong in a past game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I did this was terrible, we lost because of this. Yeah. But in a long game, you have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, 10 times I like missed my spells here and messed up this team fight and messed up this fight and didn't rotate here, and you can find like 20 different mistakes, you know? And
what do you even talk about when you go into the review room in between games?
In between games, for me, I was just like, I just into team fights, we can move on, guys, play the next game. Like, that's all I was thinking. Yeah. Because to me, it's just like, if I just played better, I think we would have just won in fights. But yeah, you don't really want to talk too much about stuff that's not going to be relevant to the next game. Mainly it's just draft talk, to be honest. I don't think, unless it's like really obvious, like some people like really desperate in early game for some reason, like you talk about like, let's try not to be so desperate early game.
Yeah,
blah,
you
blah,
talk about the atmosphere, stuff like that.
But you try not to like talk about in-game specific things because it kind of just like leads into arguments a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have that. It's useless. You know, it's not like you're going to take it into the next game.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing the games afterwards is like when you feel the tiredness. I feel like for me, it's just like pure adrenaline and focus the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like I'm trying to mellow out, you know?
Yeah.
By talking to Raz, my therapist.
See, hey, we got the couch here for a reason. And the timbers too. Yeah. You literally have it all.
Dr. Raz.
Now we're going to continue on with the therapy session. Jerry.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you went through this day. Because like, not only did you have to wait an extra long time for this series in particular, but the first like, the C9 game couldn't have felt good for you. So like how it's like, so tell me just like how your day went.
I mean, honestly, going into the C9 series, like we at least wanted to show signs of life. Like I think we felt like we could beat them. I think we can beat any team. Like that's what every team says. So you know, I'm gonna say that.
So you're just gonna go with that?
No. I'm just being self-aware about it, but I do believe that.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
And I think game one, like we've struggled a lot in game ones, not just on stage, but in scrims too. Like we kind of got stomped. But I think game two, we showed a lot of good things.
It was really close.
You know, it was close. I was happy. Like every game, every series I play, like I learn a lot, you know, so I'm appreciative of that. And then having to wait, I'm honestly pretty excited to be on pros. Like I used to be a big fan of the LCS. Like being able to do this is fun. So,
hell yeah.
You know, it got me through the 5 hours of waiting. Thanks to these two, you know. They had to have the longest series ever, the comebacks and stuff. So, but no, just happy to be here.
Made him waiting. How's so because you guys, I guess we should talk about it. You ended up taking a big win off of Team Liquid, and that must have felt great. But it feels like a pretty crazy week because that happens. Obviously, the news about like the coaching change happened. This is your first. This is your first year.
Yeah, I love that dude. Love that dude.
Yeah. My brother up there. This is your rookie year, so like this has to have been like a very tumultuous, like kind of crazy year for you to come in.
No, that's a good word. You know, I wouldn't say it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Because I'm here, but no, I mean it's been crazy. I think the win against TL, it was much needed. You know, I mean having like if we went 0-7, right, and like let's say we went 0-6 and then we beat like Dig or LYON.
Oh, that would be terrible.
Or Shopify. He looked at me before he said it, and he was like, I looked directly at him, and he said,
I just didn't know how to put it. But, you know, like let's say we beat one of those teams or one of the teams, it wouldn't feel as good. But beating TL, like you know, it shows us like, you know, we can do this, guys. So it's good. But the split, I mean, I've just been learning a lot about myself. Like I always say that when I'm losing, because like, you know, you got to take something from it. You know, it doesn't feel amazing, but I think it's fun to just play League of Legends at the highest level and it has to offer. Like that's just fun to me. Like getting up every day, being able to scrim and like learn a lot. Like I like it. It's been a rough split, but it'll get better. Yeah.
Like I think something that I love about you is like the confidence. Like because we saw that a little bit in when you were in Maryville. You talk trash, or like if someone's talking in a game, you're gonna talk back.
You have to, man.
And then you end up winning versus Team Liquid, and you start going off. Like, where does that come from generally? Where does that?
Well, I just have the belief that like you have to be a fan of yourself at the end of the day. Like, especially if you're on a losing team. Like everyone, like no one else believes in you. The fans don't believe in you. Like the other teams don't believe in you. So you really just need to like, what's gonna make you practice the hardest you can every day? It's like having that belief in yourself, right? So I just try to be my biggest cheerleader and like I really believe in myself. Like obviously I love my team. Yeah. You know, but you were asking about me. Like I really believe in myself and just like how much I can improve. Like I think League of Legends, it's a game. Like I don't think it's that complicated. I think it's like you versus your bad habits. Like trying to like get better at those, trying to like increase your awareness in the game. So, you know, that like why not be positive? Yeah. Right? That's what I think.
I'd say the same to you, Fudge. When you first came in, like you were pretty confident. You were a big talker, or at least like somebody that had, I feel like, that same mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I was a little bit like insecure back then. I was pretty like, yeah, I mean, still a little bit insecure, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm human, but back then I think the reason why I talked so much was just because I felt like I needed to say I was superior to others. I didn't feel like it. Yeah. Nowadays, I kind of just feel like, you know, I'm actually just playing to improve and to like prove something to myself, I guess, that I can improve and beat people at the highest level. And it's fun. Like to me, like scrimming is really fun. Like day by day, like I would hate to have a normal job, honestly. And I love playing League of Legends every day. And I'm really lucky to be able to do it. So I just enjoy the process of everything. Obviously losing feels really terrible. And that's what motivates me to improve more. So yeah, at the end of the day, back to scrims.
Back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board.
I was like, it's kind of weird when we're talking about like rookie year or something, because technically you started out with Dignitas like last year, right? But you've been around.
Yeah.
Like you were in Oceania. You guys both were in Oceania, obviously. So like you guys have been playing at a high level, but like you're generally like a silent type. And silent in the sense of like, you're not yapping. But anytime I talk to you.
Persona. Yeah. I don't have a very loud persona. Yeah.
But anytime I talk to you, you're always like hypercritical of your own work. It's like anytime I interview Impact for something, it's like I say something he did well, I was like, no man, I did X, Y, and Z wrong at this point. So talking about me like coming into the league in general, like your mentality, I'd say. Because you came in with a lot of veterans with that Dignitas core.
I mean, there was definitely, at least last split to this split, there's a huge dynamic shift. It's previously 4 people, I would say not including myself, kinda, 4 people that have already had significant success in their careers, that all have their ways of playing the game, their ways of playing and communicating outside of the game, how to understand what's important, and they bring all that into the team, you know? Doesn't leave a lot of comp space, doesn't leave a lot of space for, I don't know, me to like give my own opinion. Not saying they like tried to hold me back or anything like that, but there are a lot of pre-established views, and it's very hard to break out of this kind of mindset, especially when, you know, you had success like that in the past. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds of it, but coming to this split, the dynamic is completely different, you know? It's 2 rookies, Korean mid laner, 2 Korean coaches, an ADC that had success with 100 last split, and someone I played with before. So Tom and I kind of already had that like duo synergy. Don't have to talk too much about certain things. We already have kind of the same notions of pre-established views on certain matchups, stuff like that. Yeah. But having to play with new teammates, having to kind of be that mentor at times it's a very different dynamic. I have to say, like, I was pretty proud of how some of my teammates played today, in spite of how I thought, not to be hypercritical and feed into this
That's
more,
fair.
but I thought this was one of the worst series I've played, to be honest. And
yeah, I agree, man.
I mean, coming from Mrs. Onias,
me too.
But yeah, it feels good to know, to have this happen and feel paid back from my teammates for sometimes the effort I have to put into reviews and other stuff. But yeah, it's resources taken away from myself, and I'm definitely gonna have to reflect on this series and the rest of the year how I play individually. So
okay. I mean, it's still going to be a long road, so let's talk about it a little bit, because we've now moved away from the positioning phase where, you know, you go through the 7 games of play, and now we're going into the group stage. We've already played our first series out. Like, what is the shift in like practice or mentality going into now playing best of 3 fearless for you guys? Has there been a change in how you guys have been practicing or anything like that?
I mean, you can go.
There was the format change in scrims. I'm sure everyone has experienced it. We only played 1 fearless block oftentimes, or even towards the end of last phase, not split phase. It was like people were playing 6 blocks, no fearless, you know? But now scrims are all fearless. 2 blocks, all fearless. Yeah. So drafts are very different, I have to say. Yeah. What happens in game 1 will reflect what happens in game 2, and people are saving picks now, you know? Yeah. This is our game 1 draft, your own Sedge. This is our game 2 draft, Aurora Nocturne, something like this. It's very different than just playing a BR1, banning the first 3 champs. It's always the same every game. You know, you have to play to your champion's strengths differently now than how you did before. So yeah, that's the draft perspective at least.
Do you guys overall like it? Like the change in general?
I like it. I think the fearless is way more fun. It's kind of boring when it's just like the same 3 bans, and like especially when it goes to like best of 3s, best of 5s, it's like way more fun to just play fearless. It is definitely a lot harder to practice in terms of like some teams just like permaban certain champions that you can't get practice against, and then on stage you have to like permaban it, and then all that kind of stuff. It kind of gets annoying. But yeah, you just kind of have to be very versatile. It forces you to practice a lot of matchups, like in 1v1s for top laners, for example, or 2v2s, I'm sure, and just be ready for anything, kind of.
Makes sense. Like, what about your experience so far, Jerry? Because like, my thought process is Fearless probably is going to be difficult for teams that are just like trying to get on the same page.
Yeah,
like,
it definitely can be.
Yeah. So like, how has it been for you guys?
I mean, it's the same game, you know, but I think Fearless, it does make things more interesting. I think you get a little more cope too. It's like, oh guys, they already used their game 1 draft, you know, like anything could happen game 2 and 3. Definitely practice is different. I think going into playoffs, I think you scrim more of the same teams. Like that's one change. Like I scrimmed this guy like 3 or 4 times this week.
Yeah,
true.
So really?
It was fantastic, yeah. Wow. And they permabanned Jace.
I think we had a positive record by 1 game, and we permabanned Jace. But I'm just playing ADC, man. Like, you know, I'm playing 1 ADC champion.
Very real.
It's true that ADC doesn't feel it as much as other roles.
It's definitely fun because I get to play like other stuff like Ziggs. I really love Ziggs. But I have to play Varus Kalista every game though. Like if it's just best of ones. So no,
that's true.
It's fun for me.
You came into the league different than other people because you played Fearless prior, right? Yeah. So how was that? Because a lot of people I feel like that's just completely different for most people. So how is it coming straight from collegiate, already having experience in Fearless?
Yeah, I mean, I more so just felt like it would be the wave because it makes the game a little more interesting. You know, like a lot of league games, they can feel kind of the same to watch or the same to play, but Fearless, like somehow like just changing up the draft a lot of times it makes it feel different.
Yeah.
I would say like I had to expand my champ pool for sure for Fearless. Like that's one thing, but I think that's another cool thing for a pro player is like now you can practice different champions and play different champions and it feels more diverse.
Yeah.
So no, I'm a fan.
I want to change this up just talking about your other opponents within your guys' groups. You guys are in the group with FlyQuest and 100 Thieves, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about 100 Thieves a little bit because they played earlier on this week and it didn't look good for them. Game 1 was pretty good. Game 2, just straight up stomp. How do you guys feel about just your guys' group overall? Because I think everyone's thought process is that is the more challenging group. That every team is pretty close.
Yeah,
Fly or something.
I mean, for us, it was definitely like going into the best of 3s. Dignitas was the opponent to beat because it was the easiest match. And now that we lost, it's like, we play against Fly 100. I mean, I'm sure it was the same for us, right? Vice versa. Playing against 100 Fly is definitely a lot harder. I think Fly is much better than 100. I
think everyone would agree.
Yeah.
So we play against Fly next week. It's definitely going to be a hard match. I think they're really good. So we just have to keep playing our own game and make sure we improve on our, like you said earlier, our bad habits. I feel like a lot of that needs to be improved upon, and you never know on the day, you know, sometimes they might just like hit their head and play worse. So
one thing about Fly that I do think is they are really good at trying to suck you into their type of game, their type of champs.
Yeah.
Play the game on their tempo. So yeah, like Fudge said, I do think it's really important that you play how you guys want to play. You don't try to match them constantly, just play how you guys know how to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it was like a 30 interview with Mihir, basically just talking about how you guys have very much focused on basically playing like a Korean playstyle of like not really taking too many risks, getting vision, all these stuff. I mean, just like generally playing a slower game. How has that been for you? Have you already like been attuned to that coming into that style, or like basically just talk through that process? Because last week, you guys looked like you were improving a lot. Almost beat 100 Thieves. Obviously,
crazy upset.
but that game was really close, and I was like, oh my, the game. You guys looked cleaner and cleaner. Obviously, today's a little tougher.
Yeah.
But how has that process been for you guys?
Definitely a lot of the influence of this play style that our team has comes from our coaches. Obviously, players that have, received the Korean tuition have this just mentality of following how LCK teams play. Yeah. But honestly, I really buy into it. I really like, I don't know, there's always a narrative that LCK is slower, but there's a difference between being more slower or more calculated. Yeah. Sometimes just teams pick their fights better, but that doesn't mean they're less decisive. I have to say, we went on the boot camp, I'm sure you know. between split 1 and split 2 for 3 weeks, and we were scrimming some Korean teams and even academy teams. They are so decisive.
They have hands.
They really don't hesitate at all. And even though, some of the really good ones, like KT was the best one, I think.
Yeah.
They play the game slower at times, but when it's their time to play, they play fast.
Yeah.
And I really like the dynamic that our coaches have brought in, how they view the game, how hard they are on the players, how high the expectations are. So, yeah, honestly, I've never been happier with the coaching staff. Genuinely, I have the highest praise for them.
Hell yeah! It's weird to me. Weird to me in this case is like all of that makes a lot of sense, and then you have a team within your guys' group, 100 Thieves, that just plays a completely
completely opposite.
100 Thieves is like a big outlier. I feel like compared to all the rest of the teams, they play like very solo queue-esque.
Yes,
I would say.
But they're finding success. Like
very scrappy.
How's that? Because obviously their scrims, they even say it's not great, but they're finding so much success on stage. How is that working for them?
I mean, I'm sure it carries through scrims. They seem to play better on stage. For sure. Maybe because they do take a little bit, maybe their players are just already good and they just decide to take less risk on stage and they just win. But I do think they don't look as strong as they did when they were playing last split.
Yeah, split 1. Yeah. There is a bit of a difference.
But it's also just very meta dependent. I would definitely say though that it's playing against them, I have much more confidence than playing against FlyQuest, I would say.
Yeah.
They definitely just seem like a team that could lose to anyone, and maybe that's just because in scrims they are anything, kind of, sometimes. I mean, not that they're getting stomped, but they're kind of just playing bad sometimes. And playing against like Fly or C9, it feels like you're slowly getting choked out, and they just have tempo at all times and don't really make as many mistakes, and then you just lose.
Yeah.
Much more methodical teams, maybe.
Yeah. So I have decent confidence against 100. Obviously, our first opponent is Fly, so we'll see about that one. It's going to be a hard game.
Will be shattered after that.
I mean, against FlyQuest, I mean, it's like
You guys got them.
yeah, we can beat them. I mean, they're not T1, I mean, well, they're not HLE. HLE lost to DK. I forgot. What's the best team right now? I don't know. Gen G. They're not Gen G.
They beat them twice.
Yeah, but they did beat them twice though.
What about, so even though they're not in your group, 100 Thieves, like, what do you feel about that team? Because I think your first series was versus 100 Thieves. Yeah. And you guys had leads in those games too. And that was like where people were like, they're not looking great. And then they just go to the finals anyways. What's your thoughts on that team?
I think 100 Thieves, they just have a lot of solid players. And they have a lot of solid team fighters too. I feel like on stage, I agree with Fudge. They just take less risks, and then they show up to the team fights and they just execute it really well. It's always fun for me versing them because FBI was like Hui's old ADC.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make Hui proud sometimes. Against 100 Thieves, it's kind of a grudge match, but only for me. But no, they're a cool team, and what's cool about them is they give us confidence because we can actually beat them in scrims because they're not a good scrim team.
Yeah.
So, but no, they're a solid team.
How's it been working with Hui?
It's been amazing, honestly. Just because he's a really knowledgeable player. Like, he's been in the scene for almost 10 years. He's really old now.
Yeah.
But
really old.
Yeah.
Really old.
Geriatric.
Yeah, for sure. But I appreciate that about him. He just has like a really good perspective on the game. And he, like, after every game, he communicates it to me. Like, I remember at first, when I first got to the league, like, I was not doing very well against these bot lanes. And obviously, like, this is a guy who he's had a lot of success. Like, he's won championships. He's played with really good players.
Yeah.
But he just showed a lot of patience and just teaching me these concepts. And he's like pretty good at communicating. And he's kind of our team leader too. Like, even we didn't have a coach. Right now we have someone who's stepping up to be the coach. But throughout the whole process, like, he's just, he's very strong in his ideas. He's kind of giving us a team identity, like, I'm just like, I feel lucky to like have him as my support, honestly.
Is he leading reviews? Because I remember when I was coaching an academy at the time, I had Hui. God knows what reason he's in academy at that time. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, he's very vocal about just like basically during reviews as well. Like, how is the review process? Because obviously you talk about the coaching aspect, but who's talking the most when it comes to those?
No, I mean, reviews. I mean, Hui, he's also like, I don't know how to put it. He's a hard, like, he holds people to a high standard.
Yeah.
And in review, he'll give his opinion pretty strongly. Like, him and our jungler and mid clash sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But, he's usually the one pointing out stuff, and he's like, guys, like, how come they're getting way more on the map every time that they go for this play, and then, like, we're not getting anything?
Yeah.
So I think he's a big reason why, like, we feel like we can beat any team, just because he gives us a lot of confidence, and he's somebody who he's won before, right? So if he's telling us, like, guys, these teams aren't anything, like, we can be just as good as them, we're just making these small mistakes here, like, we trust that,
You got, talking about your group a little bit now, you have C9, Team Liquid, LYON.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts going into that group? Are you happy being in the group that you're in? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm happy, bro. I'm happy being in this group.
Yeah.
I think
Happy to be in the league. Happy to be
yeah, but I mean, obviously, it's a good group. I think any group that we're in, it's going to be hard, like against the top teams or any teams. I think it's pretty competitive, the league in general. But I'm happy being in this group. I'm glad we got C9 out of the way. They were probably the hardest ones there. I feel pretty confident that we can beat TL. Like,
okay,
we're kind of their fathers. I'll put that out there.
Statistics sure.
I gotta hold on to this one win somehow, So yeah, I'll just throw that out there.
I remember there was a bet for that one, by the way, about APA shaving his head.
That's crazy.
That is not a shaved head. What happened?
Bro, that is not a shaved head. No, this guy, he got a buzz cut, and he looks a little bit worse, I guess, but it's not that big of a difference.
For the best of 3 coming, maybe.
Yeah, true. Up the stakes. Find a way, please.
I'm down. I'll do one with him. Yeah.
Shave his head for him. I don't know.
That's not a shaved head. Yeah.
For everybody here, talking about LYON, because LYON was a team that came into this league and everyone was hyping them up.
Yeah.
Obviously, their schedule was a little weird because they were facing a lot of the teams that, were quote unquote the bottom 4, right? And they did well. And then ever since then, they've been on a losing streak. I'll ask you, like, Isles, what is your opinion on LYON as a team? Kind of weird.
Maybe a bit of stylistic clashes at times. Obviously, I played with Licorice or Eric in the past, and he really enjoyed playing the 2-lane oriented style, whereas now he's playing with some Koreans that I'm sure like to play the map really wide, like to play a bit more slow at times, and I do think a lot of line success has come from great laning from mid.
Yeah.
Some pretty good situations happening topside. I think even a game they played against Fudge, maybe.
Yeah.
There was a great situation from Eric in top lane on Rumble, something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, a lot of the time they just gain advantages and hold on to them well. So I'm not sure about the recent decline. Maybe they've just been playing against harder teams. I know their series versus C9 was nothing that I'm sure that they want to remember, but definitely some potential.
Yeah.
Particularly from mid lane, I think though. Saint has definitely been an overperformer, I have to say.
And also just kind of going to overall, like, who do you guys think is the best team in the league at the moment?
On 3 guys?
Why?
Okay.
I don't have to say it's Dignitas. No.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Actually,
Shopify.
Yeah, I guess
probably.
Yeah, it could be C9.
Yeah, I would say C9 too.
What
I
do they
think
do
C9
well?
and Fly though played the game differently, but also similarly.
Yeah.
I think Fly has, the more flashy champion pools at times. Whipper's known for picking funny stuff. Busio is the same. Inspired also, like everyone knows he can play Fiddlesticks on a whim.
True.
Apparently Busio can also play it.
True.
Like they're a very hard team to prep for. But also sometimes they just crash out. Sometimes their duo underperforms randomly. Even in the game we played, the first 4 minutes of the laning phase, their duo played really bad. Obviously they got bailed out because we're Dignitas. But
Whoa. Don't say that by yourself.
That's great.
But yeah, sometimes they have lower lows, I think. But C9 on the other hand, they play the game very, very standard, very stock standard. Yeah. Don't throw that often, I think.
Actually, your guys' game versus Fly was really close. It was like early on the positioning phase.
We just perform well against the top teams, right?
Oh yeah, that's how it is.
We beat TL.
The Kingslayers.
Had a good game against C9. I think that I would rate Fly a little higher than C9. I just think they're playoff risers, proven to be playoff risers. I think like they won the split, they went to Worlds, so they have a lot of experience in like, clutch situations and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just rate Fly higher for that reason, honestly. But C9's great.
That's fair. Yeah. I want to change gears a little bit because you guys just basically talking about how you guys came up. So like you guys know each other.
Mm-hmm.
The way you guys came through, I just looked it up. I did some research and I'm snooping.
Looked it up.
Because like you guys were on Mammoth Academy at this like for 2 games at the same time. What the hell happened there? Do you guys even remember that time?
Yeah, It was because Fudge played for the main team, and
what was it?
Who's our top laner?
I forgot.
It was like Top Coon or something?
Oh, yes, no, because someone else on our team got banned. So my top laner played ADC for 2 games. And we had Fudge play 2 games in Academy because we needed an extra player.
Yeah. Those games were easy wins, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very easy. Very easy.
Yeah. You guys know each other, but it feels like you guys kind of were always in different areas. Like, for instance, you guys were both in C9.
Yeah.
You were on the main team, but you were working in the Academy team. There was a weird time where, like, Sven also was working with you guys or, like, dropped down.
Yeah.
How well do you guys know each other? Like, what was your stories coming up?
I mean,
running the same circles, maybe.
Yeah, we're in the same circles, like similar friends at times. And then I guess on C9 was probably when we hung out the most because he was an Academy player and I would like talk to Academy players sometimes. Yeah. And then like there's always a lot of drama in Academy back then because they had like Malice and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. That was a big era.
Yeah. Those are the banger times, bro. Like the tea you got from the Academy team back then was great. So I love talking to Jonah back then. But other than that, it was kind of just like, I mean, it was just chill. I mean, I don't think we like are super close, but like I feel like I'm not really close with any league player. Yeah. Like I'm just like we play league and we talk about league.
Crazy.
Honestly,
I'm not like emotionally like it's not like emotionally like attached to my teammates or something like this. I mean, maybe with C9 a little bit because obviously I literally worked with them for like 4 years, so it like felt weird to leave C9.
You have to have some emotional connection.
I mean, there was some.
Hate them, forgot about them. Wish them the worst.
I was actually I was like outside looking in the Academy side because you were there. I was like, when I was like, oh, that team has Malice and Darshan. I feel like they're just completely different human beings.
And that definitely showed, yeah.
Okay, I was wondering what happened there. There's also another teammate that you guys played alongside and shared. Who do you think that is?
King?
Oh, I guess technically that works. That's what I was lying about that. I guess there's 2. For me, you had M&S for a little bit.
Well, M&S? Right? Oh yeah, M&S.
Oh,
we love M&S.
You had Legacy, M&S.
Yes.
What happened? Because I was like, oh my God,
Legacy.
Oh. Yeah,
I forgot about Legacy. That was a banger.
Yeah,
M&S is a great guy. I love him.
Yep. But yeah, there was like that was the one thing.
There was some complications. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure because there's a bunch of things.
Some drama, yes.
That you guys shared on that one, but you guys came up in a similar way through that, coming up from OS. You came up in a way that's very, like, not a lot of players come through, which is through college.
Yeah.
And coming through the collegiate system. How was that for you? Because you, I guess it's obviously natural for like NBA players or something to go through. And you were doing your college studies at the same time as playing league. How was that?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was kind of rough because, you have like an NACL match on the weekend. And then on that Sunday, there's homework due at night.
Yeah.
That you put off all week. So
you use ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I might be going back to that school. But if you're not using your resources, then you're not studying correctly.
True.
ChatGPT changed the game. Honestly, it did. But no, I mean, it's definitely different. But I think in league, it's really easy to just like mental boom, or like just have a bad split and then your practice becomes bad. I think being in like a college environment where you just have people around you that like are supporting you and they care about you aside from like whatever's happening in the game. Because I had like some pretty rough splits in that collegiate time.
Yeah.
But I think like the people I had around me and just the environment in general, it's really what like helped me just to keep going, keep pushing through it. So, it definitely had its downsides of like homework, maybe the competition isn't as good, but I think the upsides of the environment, like it matters a lot.
What happened when you make the decision to all in on playing competitive? What was that like for you? Because for me, I'm like, well, technically I did that when I was going to Dignitas. I was like, I'm deferring this. But for you, what was that decision like?
I mean, to me, the decision was pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't really like school. I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But
fair.
I mean, this is just the dream, right? Like, if you're playing competitive League of Legends, like for the entire day and you're sacrificing a lot of things, like if you don't go to the next level where you can be challenged, because in tier 2, I was doing pretty well, but the scrims become more boring, or like you don't fix as many of your bad habits because you don't have to.
Yeah.
I think like getting the opportunity to go to tier 1 where like all you focus on is league, I mean, I thought about it for a little bit just because, you know, there are some orgs that are budget orgs.
Yeah.
I don't know if mine is one, but, you know, I just had to think about it.
Yours is definitely not one. Is what you're supposed to say.
Content org.
Definitely not one. Yeah.
My org's great. I love my org.
Just the content org. Kind of want to share some rookie stories because I'll start with you because you started up and I think everyone kind of just jumped on you right from the get-go.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
What can you share like some of the rookie stories that you had coming up? Anything with the team that you had, like any life lessons that you can share?
No, I mean, it's just like
Some wisdom.
Yeah.
some wisdom. I mean, just
Would
like,
love to.
Hey, Jerry's sitting
No, I mean,
here
I'm
too.
locked in here.
wisdom. I mean, it's just a matter of
Let us know.
you don't look at social media when you're a rookie. That's all that happens. You don't look there and you only focus on yourself. That's about it.
I kind of like social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like motivating. You know? I mean, it's tough, but it's like
terrible,
just
bro.
because like you see some of like the fan opinions, and you're like, these guys have no idea what they're talking about, but this is a funny comment.
Yeah. Well, you look at the negative comments and you say they don't know what they're talking about. You look at the positive comments and like they're so right.
Yeah.
No, true. Exactly.
And then you like check the Reddit thread only when you win. And, check the VODs of all the coach streamers only when you win. And,
Yeah, no, exactly.
Definitely had my errors of checking C9's Reddit once they lost.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you don't want to check
A
those.
big hating period, but
But for me, I don't know. You just kind of get used to it, to be honest. You get used to like, you know, inting and then people's comments. And at some point, it kind of like, you just become like a little bit tolerant.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you just like focus on what does my teammates think and what do I think? That's all that really matters, you know?
Yeah.
And what do my coaches think? Kind of a little bit, but not too much. Don't focus too much about them that one.
You guys
That's fair.
just stopped checking out Reddit or anything like that in
Oh
general?
yeah, no, I don't check social media because it's just there's nothing that's gonna make me happier or like more content or more confident in myself by going there, you know? It's kind of just, you don't want to like put yourself in that mindset, I feel like. I mean, unless it's like for content where like you want to like reply to something to like boost engagement and stuff like that, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or if I was like a streamer, then sure. But
Wow.
I don't really do that stuff, so.
Yeah, it's a very wise take. You know? I mean, I'm checking the Reddit threads all the time.
Are you gassing yourself?
Bro,
when you do?
I mean, kind of, right? Because I say a lot
On
of
the TL series,
I say a lot of,
yeah.
yeah. Like I say some crazy stuff, like, "Oh, I'm as good as LYON," which I don't think is crazy, but other people thought was crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone's like, "What is this guy on? This guy's like, this guy's delusional. Like, this guy's gonna be out of the league." Like, it's just funny to me. And if I need that motivation to like watch an extra VOD or an extra solo queue game, like, it's right there.
Yeah.
You know.
That's true. Wait a minute, Isles, what about you? Because you said you made the mistake of checking that Reddit thread when you guys were losing. Have you just like sworn it off?
it was only a very brief period. Obviously, I didn't play on the C9 main team for more than literally 2 series.
Yeah.
I think. So honestly, people weren't that critical of me at the time. I still remember all of that, but definitely after I was off C9, I love to see when they lose. Check out, this guy needs to be replaced. This guy needs to be replaced. This guy has no hands. Like,
how much do you hate C9?
It was no. It was a small stint.
It's funny. It's funny. But like C9 is just like being on C9 is basically just like you have the fans who are the nicest people to you when you're good. And also, but online, the fans are really negative if you're not really good. It's just, I feel like in person, fans are always great. On C9, especially, like they are really dedicated. But then like online, there can be a lot of negativity, and you have to stay away from that if you're not doing too well, because it can really affect you. You know.
I would agree for sure. I still have C9 fans that come up to me asking me for signatures just because I was on C9 before.
Yeah, that's sick.
So,
they're legends.
What about your rookie story? And you can talk about anything. You can talk about the time you were on Dig or coming up on
Legacy. Talk about M&S on Legacy. Let's hear about that.
Yeah, let's hear about that. Let's hear about just anything. Any like lessons or stories that you got away from it?
I don't know. I think maybe more so now than before, I should definitely be a bit more selfish, I think. I was a bit of a team player at times, not just in game, but also out of game, you know, vouch for people that I think are good and try to be honest, try to do what the team wants. But a lot of the time, that's not best for you. I think what happened with like my journey with C9, personally, I'm still like, I'm not cut up about it, but I'm regretful that they thought the way that they thought, because I still think it was a mistake to this day, how I was treated and how the roster was and like things like that, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't look out for yourself, no one else will. So I definitely find myself in more recent years, definitely looking a lot more inwards.
Yeah.
And just, you know, taking one day at a time.
That makes sense. Because especially since I think it's easy to get caught up in trying to be a team player when you're surrounded by people who definitely have more experience.
Yeah.
And definitely know more.
Absolutely.
Sure. And like realizing after the fact that you're like, wait a minute, I should have said more.
Yeah.
You guys had those moments specifically?
Oh yeah. On 2021, like I felt like what made me improve a lot from like 2021 to 2022 was actually like thinking at the time, because I was really close friends with LS, right? And he would always like say all these negative things about how my teammates are playing and the champs they're playing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, nowadays he's a very like chill dude.
Yeah.
But back then, I would actually think my teammates weren't that good.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, and I would be very like, all that matters is myself, like playing for myself. I need to look good. And, you know, like back then I wanted to be the star player. And I think that's actually what kind of made me play a lot better at the time. I mean, obviously there was a lot of moments where I could have played better if I had a different mentality and a more balanced mentality, which is kind of what I'm trying to have now.
Yeah.
And then as the years went on, I think I kind of switched to being too much of a team player.
Mm-hmm.
And once you like, you know, play with more and more and more, you play at Worlds and stuff, and then you get stomped individually. You feel like you have to play as a team, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I shifted way too much to the other end. And then the past like year for me has just been trying to like shift to like more of like a balance, because I feel like you can't really be one or the other on a good team and play well as a team and play well as an individual if you're just on one or the other. You have to kind of be balanced.
Yeah. You really don't want to like be stuck in that pendulum swing. You really, obviously when like Fudge says, when you play against international players, the goalposts individually and as a team move every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you kind of get used to, you know, what you're used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as the international competition comes in, or you start playing against these players that are just, they, you know, live and breathe League of Legends.
Yeah.
It reflects on you too, you know? You have to try your hardest individually. And every single time you have an opportunity to talk with your team, you're not going to hold back. That's something I definitely learned from some of the players on C9, specifically Sven, I think, was someone that I really relate to. And my teammates could definitely attest. I rip into them in reviews. And
he's toxic as fuck.
In a toxic way, but you know, you have to have people that can say it. Because in the past I didn't. And sometimes I think in my earlier career, there's definitely moments where I wish I had said more.
Yeah, because otherwise it feels like if you don't set that tone early, then you're going to be a quiet team, it feels like sometimes. That never really like...
Say their problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have to hold people to standards. And I think even last split, just, you know, people didn't want to tread on other people's feet at times. Established players, people that have all won the league before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people sometimes were just afraid to say it. And even looking back then, in like the last 3 or 4 weeks, we had an error helping us because Golden Guardians, I think, their split had ended.
Yeah.
Was by far the most improvement we had the whole split. And looking back, that's such a massive regret to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, like, that was the most fun I've had with 4 teammates in my entire life. And I will never forget that split just as friends. I think literally tomorrow we're gonna meet up and play board games.
Oh, that's sick.
So I will never forget them as friends. But yeah, if you don't acknowledge what your team is doing wrong, as even if individually you can acknowledge that this isn't working, taking the step to like really just take away the layers and say, you know, you need to do better.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, any takeaways from this, especially, or just like in general? Because I don't know how you view yourself. Because I remember last time Huhu was on Pros, he was talking about how super self-critical you are. How do you feel like any of this, like your split has gone so far? Are you just like, I'm going to be silent, let you guys do your business?
Nah, definitely not. I mean, my favorite thing about losing is just like how introspective I can get, you know? Like I think after every loss, I just try to think about like my practice for the week, you know, what I was thinking about in the game. Like I just really try to learn about myself like after I lose.
Yeah.
So, and I'm definitely a player on the team where I'm always asking for feedback. It's definitely not like like we're the worst team in the league, I'm a rookie, like hopefully my career pans out. Like it's definitely not that. I'm trying to get better. And I think like I just have a few things to figure out before I just start having like consistent good performances. And I really feel like it's just up to me to have a good performance. It's not really about the team. And I think our team culture is actually pretty good. That's what I'm happy about, honestly, is like, because you can be on a winning or losing team, but if you have a good team culture, then the experience and the process will be enjoyable, regardless of the result.
Let's talk about the next games then. Next week's matchup, you already talked about it. Fly versus Shopify.
Very excited.
Easy match.
Also, I remember last pros or 2 pros ago, basically, Whippo was just like, Dogsmack, you responded. Just like, what are you looking forward to in that match?
I mean, I think playing against Whippo is hard. He's a good player, and he plays a lot of different matchups that, I think that's his main advantage, honestly, is that he plays a lot of matchups that no one else really knows. So when you're on stage, you're already nervous usually, and you're trying to make sure you play a good game, and then you play against the champion you played against, you're going to play really scared, right? Yeah. And I think that's one of the advantages of that Whippo has against most players, is that he has a lot of different matchups, knowledge and champions in the toolbox. So playing against him is definitely not easy, but I still think that all that really matters is that we play well in mid-game, to be honest. I feel like our early games rarely go really terribly, except for that, I think, our one game against LYON. Yeah. Maybe one other game, but most of the time our early games I feel like are pretty clean, and then we just really lose it in mid-game. So that's kind of just what we're probably going to be looking out for in the next week of scrims. And we just focus on ourselves, I heard you guys have strong early games against the top 4 teams. Mm-hmm. So even hearing that. So how tough is it just kind of punching into your mid-game, late games? I mean, it's hard because scrims are never stage ever. Yeah. You do not get mid to late game team fight regular practice and scrims.
2 or 3 games today with the orange Otacon.
Yeah, I've never seen a GA Otacon in scrim. That does not exist in scrim. Yeah. So it's definitely a little bit of different game. Hard to get the same practice, but you kind of just have to be very disciplined. It's as simple as that. Okay. You guys are going to be going up against Team Liquid? Yeah. It's a hard matchup, but it's really fun. I think LYON and Core JJ, they're definitely one of the best 2v2 bot lanes. They're always trying to push their matchup. If you mess up, they can recognize it, and they're not afraid to all in you and get their advantage back. Yeah. So that's super exciting. I also think that out of the top teams, they're kind of slumping right now. You can tell they have some issues. So that's also exciting, because we'll probably be able to take that series. So yeah. Where do you think the hole is for Team Liquid? Because they have quite a few problems. You probably have an opinion. I mean, that's my boy in the mid lane, APA. So that's true. I don't think he's the problem. Yeah. I think that guy, he's playing really well. Where's the hole in that team? That's a tough question. Those are my potential future teammates. That's true. That you're talking about. That's true. But I just think. So you're not happy with the ones you have, or? What do you say? What do you say? Bro, I heard that. I was like, it's a dog-eat-dog league, Yeah, bro. All for yourself, baby. Fuck the team. I hope my team. I love my team, bro. Yeah. But I'm just not gonna say oh, this player's a hole. I'll just give the classic answer. I think they're having different issues. They thought they were a really good team, right? They were really strong, and now that they're struggling against some other teams or they've had their issues, it's just hard to. It's hard. You just have a lot of hard conversations during that time, and you start to make one mistake, and you're like, damn, we're doing this again. You stop trusting your teammates as much. Maybe it's something like that. Could be something like that. But they're still a pretty solid team for sure. So who you're going up against next? Outer Thieves. Yeah. So last time you faced them, you guys got that lead. What's your thoughts going up against the team again? Because you talked about them a little earlier on. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way the first match went was very disappointing. I have to say they played one of maybe their worst early games in recent memory. Yeah. It was kind of unbelievable, but we threw such a massive lead, doing exactly what Fudge said before, the classic hit Otacon into loose combination. Pistlow team. Yeah. The Pistlow team, it's like the kryptonite. Yeah, that's one of the specials for sure. But it's true what you say, they're playing a little bit worse nowadays. I think might have something to do with champion pool issues. Some of the stuff that was present last year is not as strong this year. For example, I think Sniper was one of his best champs is Jax. And last year, it was a power pick, particularly due to lane swaps, but just the whole time, he was really good at Jax. Yeah. I'm sure he will still play Jax this year. I'm not sure if he already has, but he really relies oftentimes on these comfort picks, and there's a reason why 100 bans Rumble every series. Yeah. It's because they can't play it, and they can't play against it. So things like this make 100 worse. Obviously, they are very decisive, very scrappy. Sometimes Grid pops off, and, the team looks unbeatable, and sometimes they look like the least cohesive team maybe in the whole league. Yeah. So I think just, leaning into what our coaches suggest, which is this, slower, much more methodical process, will naturally lead to success. Okay, that sounds great. I hope Sniper plays Rumble against them.
Yeah?
After you said that.
I hope so.
That'd be so funny.
It's not personal, but statistically, it's true. It's always funny. It's always funny. The first day of their scrims, they leave Open Rumble. They're thinking, man, maybe this is the week. Then on stage, banned, no matter what.
I mean, just let them cook, bro. I hope they pick up.
Yeah.
Pick Rumble.
I hope he prepares it, you know?
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
G-Snipes. I like G-Snipes. That's my boy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome. The two teams that are going to be facing each other, LYON versus C9. Not here. Say whatever the hell you want about them. But like, where do you think? I mean, C9 is the favorites for this one.
Yep. Absolutely.
How do you think LYON, if they were to take the win, how would it happen?
I think Henna and Saint.
Yeah.
You know, they gotta drop a couple nukes. You know, both of them.
Big nukes or like just small ones?
They got to be some big nukes. I think that team probably has some communication issues.
Yeah.
You know, so and C9 they're a strong team. Like I just versed them. You know, we're a good team and we lost to them. So well, I think it'll be hard for LYON.
So
I don't know why they're laughing. You know, like I say good team and they laugh.
True.
You know,
Kind of crazy.
You were smiling, bro. That's why I
Messed
lost.
up. You guys agree?
I have to point to the fact that I think their two Korean solo laners have gotten significantly better from where they stood at the start of the year, and Thanatos especially since last year. Honestly, the last split of last year, I was not impressed with Thanatos, generally speaking. I think some of their problems they had leading to them not making worlds were stemming from solo lane issues.
Yeah.
I was not impressed with his laning, I was not impressed with his team fighting, but genuinely this split, it's night and day. Their positioning is so much better, the way they play flanks is so much better, their team fighting, their ability to play the game in a way that's consistent, that in scrims gets them results and on stage gets them results is very admirable. I think they've done a great job, and you know, I'm not sure who's pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But
It's an error.
sometimes, I mean, like I said, last year he helped us for 4 weeks, and it's the best we got. So maybe Nick Smith is the GOAT.
Yeah, Nick Smith.
Shout out to Nick Smith. You're the GOAT.
Yeah.
I'll see you
Love
tomorrow. But yeah, I like the way the CNI play the game. I'm good friends with Sven, and you know, I think they just play well standard. And LYON's really gonna have to look for holes. I think sometimes Blab is a bit inconsistent. Today, even versus DSG, you know, they had a really poor early game. They got exposed through their duo, either like poor laning, they had counterpick, and still they couldn't get any advantage, and they were a complete liability in early game. So, you know, maybe we'll see something. And yeah, I mean, I've already said that I think Saint is a great player.
Yeah.
Maybe superior laning or superior team fighting will show up from him, and you know, maybe they have a good chance.
Sweet. I think that's about it, guys. Cool. Look forward to next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you guys are getting your podcast. Be sure to tune into LTA next week for more Fearless Best of Threes, May 3rd and 4th. Check that one out. Thank you, guys. Peace out.
Thank
May
you.
the 4th be with you.
See you guys.
Coolio.
That was fun, guys. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, bro.
Hey, 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 hey. Thank you.